liner, which was the Game Awards.
Look at him. He's already gloating and smiling.
It was a crazy night of emotions at the 2021 Game Awards, from the Game Award winners to the results of our Bigwig prediction contest. So who came out on top? You'll find out shortly. But first, overall thoughts. Swinny, we watched all of it. We reacted to it. We had our ups and downs, more downs for you. What did you think of it overall? Just the overall.
No, there was no real downs. I just need to give shit to anyone that's like, this is a world premiere of a game that's already out. They had a world premiere for Chivalry 2. That is a game that was nominated for an award, right? I'll talk about that a little bit later because I've got a bit of a rant. But aside from that, I actually had a blast. I actually thought it was a really fun show. I thought it was disappointing, actually quite disappointing from a reveal standpoint. But as an actual show, I think it was paced very well. And we'll get into some of the winners and stuff. And I think overall it was a fun watch.
Yeah, look, so I watched it with Mike last year and it was fun. That's why I was willing to do it again this year. Last year we didn't have to take a day off. I don't know why. It was either weird timing. So it was at night for us, I think. Or we either like watched it on delay, Mike. I think we watched it on delay. I think, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that was what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. But it was like work, so I didn't actually watch it. It's probably not the worst idea, Sweeney, actually just to watch it on delay. Like maybe we'll do that. But it was actually cool to have the day off, just watch it, just relax. Like it was a weird day off. It was the weirdest day off I've ever had, to be fair. But it was a cool experience. In terms of like, look, the biggest thing for me is I don't get hyped for these things in terms of like expecting huge announcements, but reading back what Jeff Keighley said, and I was kind of on media blackout leading up to it, man, the guy, like, talk about the overhype. Like, I could not believe, I read this article where he quoted, he was like, it's going to have 4 to 5 reveals of the size of Elden Ring as like a reveal. I'm like, dude, so my standard is, okay, it's going to be in the most anticipated game next year. Like, because, you know, it's that level. Like, so it's going to almost feel that whole category. And, you know, we'll talk about like what the reveals were, but I don't think any of them meet that Elden Ring caliber. So I can understand why a lot of people were really pissed off. Like, I was shocked at how much they were pissed off. Because, yeah, they didn't have a huge amount of reveals. But as with you, Swinny, I felt like the show flowed really well. Like, it was not boring. Like, it just kind of kept on going. I think last year's one, there was a lot of boring parts where Mike and I were like, oh my God, this is just dragging on. Like, they were much better this year at that kind of stuff. So, and how about you, Mike? You sort of watched bits and pieces, watched our stream.
Yeah, I watched a bit of your stream. I happened to have to work while you guys were doing what you were doing.
Well, you know, you're the famous one who says you don't live to work, right?
No, but I don't live to work, but I still, you know, have responsibilities, unfortunately.
Well,
and
I have
we had
extreme
some
responsibilities.
shit hit the fan, so I know you probably have more responsibilities than I do.
He's very time poor. Okay,
But-
don't argue with him.
Exactly.
Well, I am.
He has-
I have
he
a lot
has
of things
100
outside
hours
of,
a week, and I've
outside
got
of gaming that I have to do. So yeah, no, I you know, the parts that you guys were doing, I actually thought were really good, just in terms of, you know, what we did as Big Week. But the overall, I was surprised at some of the winners, but I was really happy with some of the new stuff that they showed, or at least some of the new trailers that they showed for stuff that we already knew that was coming out. So I personally quite liked it. I think there was a lot of stuff in there that I'm looking forward to now. So
yeah, nice. So we had 15 categories that we voted on. So Winnie, do you want to go through like what the winners were of those categories? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, so let's just like, you know, separate from our prediction stuff, just the actual inform people of the winners of those 15 categories. There were more categories, but we'll just focus on these ones.
These are ones that matter, let's be real.
Yeah. So for best action game was Returnal. We had best action adventure as Metroid Dread. Best role-playing game is Tales of Arise, which is awesome. Best fighting game, Guilty Gear Strive. Best family game, It Takes Two. Best indie game, Kenna Bridge of Spirits. Best multiplayer game, It Takes Two. Best ongoing game was Final Fantasy XIV Online. Best narrative was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Best art direction was Deathloop. Best audio design was Forza Horizon 5. Best score and music was NieR Replicant version 1.22474487.139. Most anticipated game was Elden Ring. Best game direction was It Takes Two. And lastly, game of the year was also It Takes Two. So they're the 5 big winners.
You know, when you look at the whole list, you go, like, apart from the family game, that is ridiculous that It Takes Two was nominated for family game with the theme it has and what you do in that game, the ending of that game. I don't know like quite exactly what the ending is, but I know enough that it's definitely not a family game. It's quite shocking it was even nominated. And then the fact that they voted to make it win is just, I feel like it's almost like they probably didn't have a strong standout outside of that. That's the only one that seemed weird to me. But when you look at all of them, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. None of it seems really that weird.
Yeah, I think, look, they're all very worthy of winning. There's none that you go, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, I made a snide comment last week about NieR, but I mean, NieR has an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah.
I was just a little salty because suddenly the first NieR game is like, everyone realizes how good it is. And yeah, it's just one of those things you're like, yeah, you didn't give it credit back when it came out. But in saying that, NieR Automata also won Game of the Year. Best score of the year that came out. So that's
Is it
not
Automata
surprising.
or Automata? I don't even know.
Whatever.
Oh, okay.
I say Automata, but that's probably the other way. Knowing
So
me.
although Deathloop had a bunch load of nominations in terms of multiple category winners, It Takes Two took the most, which was 4, which, you know, we ran through most of those. Forza Horizon 5, awesome to see it getting its due, with 3, Kenna 2, and then Final Fantasy 14 Online with 2 as well. Yeah, it was really weird in the show, wasn't it, Swinny? How I was like, all these ads, you know, 1,000 world premieres, and then sometimes they'll go, oh, you know, Forza Horizon wins, you know, innovation and accessibility. Oh, and by the way, it also won best sports racing. I'm like, what?
Yeah, so they
Like,
did
that was
with,
amazing when that happened.
they did that with Canterbury Spirits, because I didn't even realize that there was not only best indie, but it was also best independent debut. There were 2 categories.
Oh yeah,
And they announced it at the
you didn't
same
have that
time.
category. You didn't have that category.
Yeah, so they announced that it won both at the same time. You're like, well, I understand the difference between 2 categories, but at that point, it just felt a bit redundant.
Yeah, I
and
think
for
that's a bit
us
of a
trying to-
redundant category, to be honest, because there's so many, you know, brand new studios that are popping up from very well established devs. So I feel like that's going to happen more and more so in the future.
Yeah. But yeah, look, I'd say that when we talked about the multiple winners there, just to be clear, that includes categories we didn't mention in those 15. So, you know, something like best community support for Final Fantasy 14 Online, you know. So.
Yeah. So I think from experience, we're probably just going to predict everything. If we watch the show next year, we might as well just predict everything.
I hope so, because I got all the ones.
Dude, Mike, I know
I
you
got
tuned in
most
a
of
little
them
bit,
right.
but he dominated. It was crazy. It was like League of Legends. And there was like some random streamers or whatever. Oh, Arceus, he's going to win. And it's like, Arceus.
It was basically like all the esports categories. I'm like, oh, they'll win. Okay, they won. They
You
win. It
genuinely
was
got
like, we're not
7 to
scoring
8 out of
anything.
10. Like, correct. It's like ridiculous. So we'll get
and
into...
to be clear, they were just random guesses, most of those, you know. So it wasn't like I was like actually knowing the answers.
And we'll quickly get into so I guess we should talk about the scoring. So we did 15 categories. We had predictions. None of our predictions came true. We had half points for the prediction. So
well, they're worth 1 point.
yeah,
but
well,
we call
like,
them
and
half
that
point,
what ended up happening, even though we named the whole episode half point, even though we didn't even have half points, we had 3 points, 3 predictions each, and none of us popped any of those. And then I got 1 point because it was like a Final Fantasy reference, basically. And then Mike got like any fantasy game at all, and he got a point for that. So
I think we gave him that for I think it was Nightingale.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
That's
Was that
very much
a pity number just because you felt sorry?
and you got Final Fantasy because they announced Epic Games Store port of Final Fantasy 7
yeah,
remake.
and we went back
integrate.
to the tape. We actually went back to exactly what I said, and Swinny heard it and he adjudicated it. So
yeah.
And then for the 15 categories, 13 of them we gave 1 point. For most anticipated, we all agreed it should be 2 points. And then for game of the year, we gave 5 points. Very
I never
controversially.
agreed to that. Super controversially, because I never agreed to it.
So what did you predict when that happened?
Whatever.
When I said we're gonna have 5 points for game of the year?
Oh, I predicted that you're gonna either Swinny or I would be ahead, and then you'll pull a an ace out of your butt and win at the end, and that's exactly what happened.
Just from that category alone.
Just from that, yeah. That's why I thought it was unfair. It's
So,
way too many points.
I think
He's sly. He knew this was going to happen.
to give everyone a kind of
By
like,
the way, I'm slowing down to 300. But
Yeah, so-
It's getting a bit choppy.
so
on my
I'll
end.
just clarify. The situation was, Intergot was on 4 points, I believe. Mike was on 7 and I was on 6. I couldn't win because Mike and I had both chosen Deathloop as Game of the Year. Game of the Year being worth 5 points all came down to, is Intergot going to get it right or not? Because if he does, those 5 points will take him from all the way behind to up front. And I've got to give you credit. You predicted Game of the Year, so you won the show.
And you know, like, to be fair to myself, I was adamant all the time that It Takes Two was going to win Game of the Year. I said that back when it released. I'm like, oh, this is going to win
no,
Game
I
of
think
the
that's
Year.
fair enough. Yeah.
So,
It's kind of
do we want to live the moment? Do we want to live the moment? Do we want to bring
Yeah,
it?
let's just do it.
I'll see if I can bring it up quickly. So you guys stall for me for a second.
Yeah, so-
Let's
no,
just go through the disappointment
No,
again.
I'm just gonna want to say, so in terms of actually like getting predictions right or wrong, I'm really happy because I actually got 6 out of the 15, which sounds low, but is actually like, I think Mike, you got 5 and
I got 7
4.
at the end. I
No,
thought.
no.
Oh,
I'm talking
all right. In terms of proper predictions.
Did you predict the winner of the category or not? But when
Okay,
you
yeah.
look back last year, out of 10 categories predicted, Indigot's got 7 right last year.
Wow.
So you've like,
Damn, that was crazy.
like you killed it last year. But you
If
got
only
4
we
this
could
year.
all sleep with Jeff.
All right, do we want to watch it?
All right, let's
Let me
do it.
tell me. If you can-
Reluctantly, yes.
Oh, this looks really weird with the double.
Hey, you're
I'm
wearing exactly the same thing.
No, I'm not. I'm wearing a different hat.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
wearing a
different.
different hat. I made sure to wear a different hat.
All right, tell me if
I
you
never
can hear
wear
it.
the same hat twice in a row for our show.
That's fair point.
Because we're going to
yeah.
hear ourselves twice, so bear
And
with
also, it's a
me.
different T-shirt.
Yeah, true.
Finally, congratulations to all of tonight's
That would be
nominees.
awesome.
All pretty incredible games.
Here we go.
And the 20
I was genuinely excited at this moment.
I can't win. So.
It takes two.
He blew out his like mics, like audio gating or whatever it is.
Yeah, because
He's more excited than the guy who is taking the award,
Joseph
I reckon.
Fares.
It was his Faris pop off. He just made
Wait.
more so they win.
That guy's jacked. He works out.
Hold on. That's the
that was
commentary.
funny. That made me laugh so hard. Because I felt like
Well done.
it was destiny that would happen, where I'd be like so far down
Oh yeah.
and
course
I'd
it
win
was.
from cheating.
So the learnings
That's
from
my
me,
style.
the learnings from me after this exercise this year is if we do something similar for next Game Awards,
Yeah.
first of all, I've got to pay attention to you assigning a random category 2 points, right?
Yeah.
Second is that we've got to like stop any bullshit of those 1.5 pointers. Like any new fantasy game was just a load of crap.
Hey.
So
You think that's bullshit? I think this guy making the rules, and like not, we're both like, no, we shouldn't do that. That's what we need to stop.
but he still had to
It's
actually
rich white people like him
Rich
making
white
all the
people.
bloody rules.
he still had to get the Game of the Year prediction right, which he did, right? Whereas any new fantasy game, like, there's always going to be a new fantasy game announced because fantasy is such a broad concept.
Yeah, I think
okay,
as well.
that's a bit unfair as well. But
We should do every category. Game of the year should be maybe 3 points.
Yeah, I think it should be 3, 2, 1. That seems a bit more.
Yeah, I think that's
it's harder to
realistic.
then just steal the entire thing just because of one guess.
Yeah, and we need to be stricter with the predictions. But yeah, it was fun to watch. It made it extra
it
fun
was cool.
having things on the line. So
It was good fun. It was good.
yeah,
You guys were very engaging. So
Oh, really?
I had
Okay.
it running.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought you guys were really
Well,
good.
why don't we
Yeah.
jump into some of the reveals? Do we want to do that?
Yep.
Let's do it.